did you say?
What did you say?
This is Daria Valkenburg. Do you have hearing loss? I do.
I am Annie Lee McDonald, and I have hearing loss, and I wear 2 hearing aids.
I'm deaf in my right ear. In this podcast episode, we discuss the challenges that many of us have in trying to hear in public venues. Our guest, Barbara Bain, describes her frustration at trying to comprehend what is being said during funerals and church services. She also shares her strategies for dealing with her hearing loss. Barbara, thank you very much for joining us today. We're really excited that you're going to share with us some of the concerns and the challenges you found in public venues and in important things like going to church or to funerals.
I guess I'd like to start by saying I've had a hearing loss now for 13 years. So I've been wearing hearing aids pretty much right from the time that I found out I had a hearing loss. I was very upset about losing my hearing, part of my hearing, I guess, because I'm still able to hear some without the hearing aids. So I took it very seriously when I discovered that I couldn't hear as well as I should be able to. So I was on a mission to do whatever I could to help me hear better. And one of those was to get to an audiologist, have an assessment there, get the hearing aids, and learn to take care of them and use them all the time. And I've been doing that. The other thing was to join Hear PEI. And I have found that helpful. It encourages people to do the best they can for their hearing. I've tried to let other people know that I have a hearing loss, even people I don't know. So with the help of Hear PEI, I've been able to get their hard of hearing pins. And I wear those, and I usually wear one on my clothing and one on my coat. I have a whole lot of them. I always advocate for people to help me hear better. I will let people know that I have a hearing loss, but sometimes that doesn't seem to stick with them. They know that I have a hearing loss, but it seems like it's only there for a few seconds and then life goes on and people seem to forget or perhaps just don't know what to do.
I think it just doesn't register with people.
I think you're right. On my health card, there's a sign that I have a hearing loss. I don't think the people that take that registration even see it there, and anybody else who looks at it. For that reason, it's important to me that not only I am helping myself, but I need other people to help me hear better. Particularly in public venues, I find that is lacking. Our generation, there's lots of people, our friends are passing, and I like to attend the wakes and the funerals, but I find it very frustrating, I guess, because I'm there to pay respects, but also to listen to what's being said about the person, which I'm interested in, but I am never able to make out what's being said. I can hear that someone is speaking, but I can't make out the words.
And that's even if they're using a microphone.
Even with a microphone, which seems for me to make it doubly frustrating that there's a sound system, but it doesn't seem to be an adequate sound system.
Well, it could be that the microphones aren't properly placed.
And the people don't seem to be comfortable, I think, adjusting it.
That's right.
They go up there, and most people, when they're speaking, they're not speaking to the crowd as such. They're not looking at the crowd when they're speaking. Their head is down, and so their mouth is away from the microphone. But nobody seems to be there to help them adjust that, or even to stay with them to make sure that the microphone stays in place.
You're quite right, because quite often when you go to these things, you see that the microphone is basically facing somebody's eyes, and they're mumbling into a piece of paper.
Exactly.
And like you said, nobody says anything. And then you get some people that push the microphone away completely, and then they say, well, everybody can hear me, which is a rather arrogant way of putting things,
Right.
because nobody can hear everything.
Exactly. And at most wakes, there's lengthy things said to the group that's assembled there. And it's the same for me in church. Our priest is a lovely man, and he's always funny. He always has something funny to say. But I never, ever hear the message that he's giving on Sunday or Saturday at Mass if I go on Saturday. Never. Now, that's my hearing loss, but he is Polish, and so he has an accent, and that makes it doubly hard for me to comprehend anything. And sometimes during the Mass, or not during the Mass, I guess, but before the Mass and after, he always addresses the congregation. And he has lots to say before and after. And sometimes the congregation will erupt in laughter. And I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what he said. I wonder what it was. I'd like to know that. And then at other times, they'll clap. I think, what was that about?
So you feel very left out.
Oh, isolated for sure.
So have you talked to the priest about some of these challenges that you're facing?
I haven't had the opportunity to do that, but it's certainly on my list to have a one-to-one conversation with him. So hopefully that will help, because I go there to be able to hear what he has to say. And that's a big part of what's missing on Sundays for me. I'm a social person. I love to get out with people. I love being in groups, but I find groups very difficult, especially when everybody is talking at the same time or there's side conversations going on. And I do advocate for myself, as I say, even with those smaller groups, but you can't take the spontaneity of social gatherings away. And that's when, people get excited and everybody starts talking at once. And so I understand that, but I just wonder, especially in more public venues, what some of these administrations can do to help people with hearing loss. There's another place where I think a nice, adequate sound system would benefit a lot of hearing impaired people. Maybe in the rooms where they have their services, they're not really large. Maybe kind of a sound system where it could stream the sound into people's hearing aids would be helpful. I know it's costly for places, but I think for most places, maybe they could contemplate what they could do to help people in some way that have hearing loss.
Well, it's true. A hearing loop system would be very useful in a concert hall, in a church, in a funeral home. And it doesn't have to be the entire seating area. They can do a section of it.
Mm-hmm. It's wonderful. Yeah. It'd be nice if some of the public places that service a lot of people, like funeral homes, would entertain some changes with their sound systems.
The trouble is that not enough people speak up, and people like us are not vocal enough. And we simply say, well, if they don't care about us, why should we care about you? And we just don't go. Funerals are a bit different because you're going there to respect the person that
Exactly.
has been lost and to support the families. So that's a venue that really should be looked at for how they can help to make the experience more relevant for the people that go to pay their respects.
Exactly.
So some of the things that they might want to consider are to put the texts up on a screen, and they can do that by having real-time captioning, because most places have Wi-Fi anyways. They could also hand out transcripts, but of course a lot of times you don't know what somebody's going to say ahead of time, so that's a little bit different. And they could have a certain section looped that would allow people who have hearing loss to hear better.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the church. And the other thing is what you've brought up very clearly is that people have to be taught how to use the microphone. And there should always be somebody that helps,
standing by,
that stands by and helps to make sure that the person standing by the microphone is clearly heard.
Yeah. Most people, when they're in front of a large group of people and then in front of a microphone,
they freeze.
Right. I think they're nervous and they're wanting to do a good job, especially at a wake or a funeral. And so I think, yes, it's absolutely makes sense to have someone even from the funeral home or even a friend to go up with them or be there by their side and make sure that their voice is being carried to the people that are there.
And I think whoever is the master of ceremonies for a particular event should make it very clear that if people can't hear, that they should put hand up and speak out. Because a lot of people are afraid to say anything.
And especially in a situation like that at a wake. It's a solemn time and people are quiet and they're listening. And so for the hearing impaired, it's a really frustrating experience. And I know that because I'm a hearing impaired person.
I think that'd be really good points that you have brought up. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think everybody that has a hearing deficit, Hear PEI is a good place for them to start. And the other thing that I want to add then, in terms of doing what I could for myself to hear better, is with the help of Hear PEI, I was able to connect with a lady who was giving lip reading classes, and that was fantastic.
Yes, because we all speech read to a certain extent, whether we know it or not. But if you have hearing loss, it's important to have those extra skills.
That's right. When I was growing up, I was always taught, when you're talking to someone, look them in the eyes. Well, now my eyes float from the eyes to the mouth, back and forth.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara, for sharing these insights with us and sharing some of your experiences. I'm sure it will be very helpful to the various funeral firms and some of the churches and hopefully some of the concert venues as they hear some of the concerns that you've brought up, and perhaps it might make them think about what they can do that will help.
Yes, all those venues, they're wonderful places to go. And I miss going, or I miss what's being said when I am there. So, yeah, I hope that they take some steps to make things different. And thank you for making this easy.
Thank you. I always advocate for people to help me hear better, Barbara explained. If only we were all so upfront about our hearing loss. Not being able to hear at public events is discouraging and frustrating and makes one feel isolated. Barbara has 7 suggestions to make life easier for those with hearing loss and for public places to be more hearing accessible. Number 1, let others know you have hearing loss. Wear a hard of hearing pin And consider joining an organization like Hear PEI so that you can learn from others who live with hearing loss. Number 2, at a public event, such as at a funeral or a church, organizers should ensure there is a working microphone and that there is a person to help speakers use the microphone properly. Number 3, if you are a speaker at an event, learn how to use the microphone. Make sure you face it and speak into it clearly. Don't mumble while looking down at your notes, and don't refuse to use the microphone in the mistaken idea that you can be heard without it. You can't. Number 4, always ask the audience if you can be heard before you begin your presentation. Number 5, if you are the venue organizing an event, such as a funeral or church service, consider having a screen visible in which real-time captioning can be displayed. Number 6, ask the venue to invest in a hearing loop for a portion of the seating area so that people with hearing loss can have a chance to hear and comprehend what is being said. Number 7, let venues and speakers know if you can't comprehend what is being said and offer suggestions that will help you. We're sure that Barbara's parish priest would want to know that she can't always follow what he's saying and would welcome suggestions for better hearing accessibility. Catch you next time. Don't forget, we always love to hear from you. Send us an email at hearpei@gmail.com. That's HEARPEI@gmail.com. We hope you will remember these 7 tips. It's important to take advantage of any technology and to let everyone know what you need to help stay independent. Do please listen to our other podcasts which offer more insights on hearing loss issues. This podcast was sponsored by a grant from Resource Abilities with excellent technical production by Wendy Natras. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and have learned some new tips and tricks for hearing loss accessibility.
In today's world, you're hearing all kinds of sounds, and you must have coping strategies to be able to hear what you want to hear and be able to put in the background what you don't want to hear.
Join us on our next podcast of What Did You Say?
What did you say?